and think that it's the way to go. No, things are moving very fast. Today we have artificial intelligence ahead of us. So we need to move fast. We need to have digital platforms, open access. We need to have tools where a young person who is on YouTube or something else can be able to go into a platform on Uganda and be able to see how you do agriculture mechanization, for example. So let's digitalize some of these things. And I think partnership with the Ministry of Science and Technology, ICT, the businesses will be very, very key as we do that. And then finally, I think we need to, and that's my final we need to integrate youth empowerment, youth entrepreneurship, skilling, mentoring in the way we do business, whether it's on the private sector point of view, the government point of view, development partners point of view. We need to make sure that this is part of the core business of our work. Again, we can't talk needed for today. We want to go to scale. We need to move ahead. COVID offers.
Very well said. Again, everything that you're saying, I think the citizens are taken care of. Let's check in with Mr. James Ebito, who is the Director of Social Protection at the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. Mr. Ebito, first of all, thanks a lot for joining us on World Youth Skills Day today. From a government perspective, if you could shed some light on what we are doing as a government to ensure that youth are able to get the skills that they need to find decent work, but also thrive as entrepreneurs. We are known to be a very entrepreneurial country. Uganda is always ranked very highly in terms of our youth ability to be entrepreneurial. What are we doing as a government in light of that, especially also in the context of the pandemic? And good morning to you and thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Ben. Good morning, Ben. And my co-panelists, good morning, viewers, and all those participating in this program. Happy World Youth Skills Day 2021. And from the government perspective, specifically from the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, it is quite certain that COVID-19 pandemic has seriously disrupted the skills programs, especially for the youth in this country. And this is also a similar experience that is being recorded in other parts of the world. To put skilling in a context, I would like to take a look at just two forms of this. And this include one, classroom skilling. And this is where we look at the kind of skilling that is taking place in the universities, schools, and other training institutions. And then we also have the second form, which is work-based skilling, which is normally undertaken through apprenticeship, internship, and other forms of on-job learning. Skilling by its nature, as you know, largely takes the form of a face-to-face and hands-on interface between learners and instructors or supervisors, depending on where it's being undertaken. The onset of COVID-19, as you know, compelled a number of countries to institute measures that were quite restrictive to the movements, but also contacts between persons. And this is what we talk about today as lockdowns at different scales in various countries. Under the lockdown, essentially all educational and training institutions, universities, tertiary institutions, business, technical, vocational training institutions, which provide skilling to the youth, have been forced to close. They have all been forced to close. On the other hand, a few workplaces, especially those which are considered to be critical to the economy, remained open. But these two have had to work with a highly restricted number of people. In a situation such as this, and where no one can predict with certainty the end of COVID-19, and given the importance that skilling has in terms of opening and widening opportunities for the young people in this country, creating decent employment, but also giving them access to initiatives that promote entrepreneurship development. From the social protection perspective, we look at skilling as one of the avenues that build resilience of the young people to cope with the socioeconomic shocks that come in terms of situations like we have now for the COVID. We have had to adjust, therefore, as government, our skilling methods and approaches to adapt to the situation to ensure that the skilling and entrepreneurship promotion initiatives in the country do not grind to a halt. These challenges notwithstanding, government has taken some of the following measures here as follows. Institutions across the country have now adopted online and distance learning approaches. This has been put in practice more than ever before. Right from primary school up to university, in all the training institutions, everyone is now striving to make sure they keep in touch with their learners through the online and distance learning programs. Thank you to the improved internet connectivity. I know there are still gaps, but this keeps on growing, and I think many of our people will be able to access this. Beyond this, we are also aware that the Minister of Education has made efforts to distribute some learning kits or learning materials for those who cannot go online. This also has faced a bit of challenges, but definitely has been quite helpful in reaching out, especially those in the rural areas who cannot access internet services. The second measure has been promotion of workplace skilling. Now, with the closure of universities, schools, and training institutions, the option of job skilling has been very, very helpful. However, even given the limited number of operating workplaces and the need to restrict numbers in these workplaces, government is now promoting workplace skilling in shifts so that we can have a few going in at a time, and after those, another lot goes in. And this is just to ensure continuity of work-based learning. But this is even becoming more critical and relevant because of the rising rates of school dropouts arising from the COVID-19 pandemic. So as more children drop out of school, the only option they have to enhance their capabilities is to go through the workplace skilling, and with the skill, somebody can easily survive. The third option, the approach that we have adopted, is blending of online and face-to-face skilling methodologies. By this, we mean using a combination of online programs, especially during the peak of the lockdown, like we are in right now. But later on, when the conditions are relaxed, they can have what we call phased opening of some of these classes. You have one class go at a time. While that one is getting out, another one gets in, and this has also given us some mileage in terms of keeping the skills development processes going on. The fourth is reorienting our investors in the economy to what we call the real economy, as the president prefers to call it. In this, we're looking at sectors which have a high chance of survival against the shocks that come by. The experience of the two waves of COVID-19 in Uganda have provided lessons that inform investment decisions for both upcoming investors and those who are already practicing as investors or entrepreneurs for that matter. Sectors such as agriculture and manufacturing have been able to sustain production through the value chain and provide employment and skilling to most of the young people that we are talking about in this country. Now, the advantage of this is that employment is being created while workspaces are also being availed for work-based learning. So that is why orientation to the real economy, concentrating on those that have a very high chance of survival in the face of shocks such as COVID, is very, very important. In addition, government has made significant progress in the promotion of entrepreneurship among the youth during the COVID-19 period, and initiatives include, but are not limited to this that I'm saying, support technology to enable the young under the Green Jobs Program support. The second, and here under the Ministry of Gender, for example, we have two key programs. We have the Youth Livelihood Program and the Youth Venture Capital Fund. Both of these provide soft loans, interest-free initially, and then gradually we have a service charge of 5% after about 1 year or 2 years, and this is what is also available to the young people across the country. In addition, skilling the out-of-school youth to enable them to take up available opportunities in the economy is also going on. And this program is mainly being handled by the Enterprise Uganda and the State House. And so these ones undertaking this task, bringing youth together and taking them through the requirements to build their capacities in terms of managing their enterprises that they opt for. We also have implementation of what we call the High Flyers Initiative to help young entrepreneurs overcome the new obstacles to business, which is being created by COVID-19. Here, our young people are being trained in financial management, bookkeeping, and the use of social media to ensure customer contact and care. This has helped the high flyers to evolve their business despite the challenges posed by the pandemic in the country. This as well is being implemented by Enterprise Uganda, and it is also across the country. This of course are just a few of the innovative adaptive skilling and entrepreneurship promotion methodologies that have been employed so far by government. And we are not yet there, we know, but for sure, it's a long learning curve, and we hope to keep improving. So thank you very much, Ben. I wait for further follow-up on this discussion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ebito, and indeed, I will be coming back to you to try and get some insights from you on how we can be able to, get the governments to coordinate all the partners that we have here to bring this thing together. How do we have a proper national concerted effort and to make sure that not everyone is not doing their own small thing in their corner? And that's something that also we'll get back to the UNDP as well to find out from them. How do we sort of bring everyone together in the space so that you have one big concerted effort to try and make sure that our youth are able to get the skills that they need? Let's talk for a moment about money. And before I come to Conrad Otoa about this in terms of the financial sector and because ultimately it's about money, isn't it? Let's check in with the CEO at BRAC Bank Uganda. Mr. Jimmy Ejiga, good morning to you. Thanks a lot for joining us. Hope you're well. Needed to find out from you in terms of make some of the key learnings, because learnings from your perspective. You talk about youth skilling and employment, you're talking about money. Our financial literacy and inclusion is still a bit low as a country, especially among young people, obviously. How do banking and financial institutions like yourself, like Stanbic and BRAC and the likes of that, how do we make sure that they can enhance the business competitiveness and readiness for youth? And what sort of things are you guys doing in that space at the moment?
Right. The first thing, Ben, is I keep saying there's capital or funds everywhere.
There's a lot of money.
There's a lot of money everywhere.
Right.
The issue that really stems out of this conversation is, are the entities that are willing to take on this money ready or capable of taking it on? If you look at financial sector deepening Uganda, they have so much crazy funding that has come into play into our economy. But if you look at the Ugandan businesses that can actually absorb that money, they're very few. Now let's just go down to youth businesses. I think what's really key and what we see as a way of sorting out this issue is, number one, financial literacy. Very, very important. And my brother Dennis will tell you, you can have crazy ideas, but for as long as you can't handle those resources or you can't handle that opportunity, you're going to have an issue.
Yeah.
So, when you look at what we're doing with UNDP, with the grants that we're giving out between $10,000 to $40,000. But beyond that, we're saying, let us also handhold you on managing those resources so that they go to the right area and are used for the right intention. You know very well, Ben, in our country, when you go to the bank and get 100 million, the first 30 million is to buy a nice car. And, the rest will probably go to, so many other things.
I think you're being kind. Sometimes it might be 70 million.
Absolutely.
Of the 100.
Absolutely. So I think for us, what is really key is to say, how do we prepare you as a business entity that can actually manage these resources? At the incubator, what we have actually found out after training many of these businesses is that they actually don't need a lot of money. It's just that they need to close all of these loopholes and gaps where money has just been slipping out without them knowing. Yeah. Usually, let me just put it in the most basic manner. You have funds for capital. You have funds for operations, and you have personal funds. Now, a typical guy, you come into my shop, you're relative with your own problem. Oh, I need money for this and that. Instead of dipping into your personal funds, you dip into your operation funds to support this guy. And then the next thing is, this guy's never going to pay back. So I think there's a great opportunity here for financial institutions to really support businesses. But also what's very key, I think, and what we're trying to really drum and support is this whole idea, benchmarked on empathy. Yeah? In the sense that we know for certain that high interest rates might not be the best thing for many of these businesses.
Right.
And that's why with UNDP, we said, for as long as we give you these grants, and for as long as we see your business expanding, and your business now needs money for greater growth, we can give you concessional rates, which can support your business, not only to grow, but to employ more people, to be more versatile within the environment that it's operating in, but also to be more visible. Yeah. And that's something that we take pride in.
Yeah, and of course, I should point out, we will be hearing some of the stories of the beneficiaries of some of these programs at some point this morning. And of course, it's something that you want to look forward to, especially as a young person who has interests in getting into the business space. You want to hear the testimonies of some of the beneficiaries of this facility and what they have been able to do with that. We'll be joining them also in a little bit. Let me first go back to Mr. Jimmy Atiga, who is the CEO and MD at BRAC Bank Uganda. Jimmy, good to see you. Thanks a lot for joining us as we celebrate World Youth Skills Day. You're working what you would say on the ground. What's been some of the key learnings for you in this time, and what do we pick from there to help our youth get the skills that they need?
Thanks so much, Ben, and good morning to all the panelists in the studio and those who are joining online. And indeed, happy World Youth Skills Day to all of you. At BRAC, we serve majority of our customers are the youth. Over 75% of the people we serve are youth. Of course, 96% of those we serve are female. This pandemic brought so many things to our faces. One, and the most important that I want to resonate with, is the resilience of our youth. The youth we have are enviably very, very resilient. Why do I say this? The last lockdown, when the last lockdown happened, we thought for the youth. We empathized with them. I like what the colleague in the studio is saying. Empathy needs to come into this space. We empathize with them, said in this circumstance, we are going to give you repayment holidays over 4 months, complete, no repayment at no extra interest cost, so that you can focus on safety and health. We'll come back to you and we'll rebuild our businesses, we'll rebuild our economy. And after all this period of being at home, I can guarantee you, when we came back to reopen our businesses, these youth, many of them told us they don't need additional funds. They have saved the money that they saved from the informal ways that they were surviving during the lockdown. They are able to continue paying. A few of them came up to take additional loans. So we worked together with them to refinance, to reschedule, to provide digital solutions, to provide financial literacy so that they can build their businesses back. And from a repayment rate of about 52% that we recorded at the end of September, when the pandemic had gone down, when the curve had flattened a bit, by end of year, these repayment rates had gone up to 80%. You can imagine that kind of resilience, that strong comeback from the youth. So we have an opportunity in these youth that we're working with. The will to succeed is very, very strong, and we capitalize on that as a bank, because we know when the youth succeed, when our customers succeed, therein lies our success too as an institution. Therein lies our impact. Therein lies our pride, together with our partners like the UNDP and other youth skill development partners. When the youth succeed, we too succeed. So we take advantage, or we capitalize on that will to succeed. That attitude, I can, is very, very enormous among the youth. Now, what happened this time when this lockdown was announced at the beginning of at mid-June? The youth shouted to us, said, look, you are our partner. You stood with us last time. So right now it is our time to stand with you. Don't shut down. We learned a few things during the past lockdown. We are going to innovate. We are going to be agile. We are going to be creative during this time. Just leave the offices open. We will come and speak to you about what is it that we think can work for us. And what works for us definitely works for you. And that is how we have been able to maneuver the 24, 25 days of this lockdown with the youth. We have not shut down. We have continued to be relevant and supporting them to start either side businesses or to do something different if the business line they were in has been locked down. So that is how resilient, how agile the youth are. The second thing that we've learned is, of course, in line with what the colleague Otoa talked about. We at BRAC, we do what we call Finance Plus. We don't just provide financial services. You had my brother, Dr. George, in the studio talking about, we target a household. We know a household that has access to sufficient food and nutritious food, a household that is food secure, a household that has access to skilling programs, particularly for the youth, or even the children at the school-going age, having access to skills, having access to quality health. That's why we have a community-based health program similar to the government VHT program. And then this household has access to affordable and convenient financial services. This household will not be poor. I liked it when the country representative said we should stop managing poverty. We should go at the root cause of poverty and deal with that root cause. Can we provide the household with all these tools and enable them to unlock their potential? And that's what we stand for as BRAC, unlocking human potential to realize their full capacity. So that is what we do at BRAC. So financial literacy combined with the business skills in terms of what business you should do. And when you are doing this business, what are the kind of records you need to be cognizant of, particularly in this post-pandemic situation or during this pandemic situation. You know, certain businesses have been shut down. Now, you know, businesses that have been, that is a fragile. Everyone cannot go into financial businesses, that financial services. We do finance for George. He provides the social service able to reach scale, and we're able to.
Timothy Mugumbe, who is somewhere in Tinda, the Stanbic Business Incubator as well, in terms of sort of bridging the Muntu-Awansi, will give us an assessment of how the last year and buyers, what are a meaningful living?
Worked with us last year to come, most of them, the challenges that we keep facing here, that they need to, people are energetic, they're willing to as well as how they can, across all divides, across the informal sector, connected over 2,000 vendors to customers. They have tried to sell really for the markets. I think you've seen a lot of people, very painful to see. And ones such as across our, you find Mama Tendo, who is, they are able to sell their tomatoes, now partnering to get to see how much enables them to also get. What in today is what using the data, how do you the different Jumia sales, collecting thousands of customers and thousands of these items, even selling, you need to have capital in some cases. You sell to your family groceries, you sell to your family that are given to you at the end of the month. So by buying more items on Jumia through the big distributors, so you find people that we have right now.
Country manager, this ideathon thing, I'm involved in it, bring all of this to make sure that the effort is.
Well, thank you very much, Ben, for that question. I think let me try to go back to the subject at hand, the theme for the year, which is reimagining youth skills post-pandemic. I think that is the theme of this year's Youth Skills Day. Now, if we take that as a theme and as the starting point, as the chapeau for our conversation, then development partners have to look at the whole ecosystem around skilling, around entrepreneurship, around mentoring, around apprenticeship, and I think that is the starting point. I think I'll repeat some of the things that I said earlier on. One of the things we need to look at very, very strongly is really looking at the issue around partnership. This is an issue that no one person can do, no one agency can work on by itself. I mean, we are bringing out about 700,000 people into the job market every year, and they're competing for 9,000 jobs. So you can imagine the unemployment. And so we need to work together from that point of view. And I think perhaps one of the things to do is to formalize some of these platforms some more under the leadership of government, to have these conversations where we see what the financial institutions are doing, what development agencies like the UN are doing, what international financial institutions, the science and technology. So that's sort of partnership platform, and the youth itself be part of that conversation. I think for me, that is one of the things that we can do realistically in terms of formalization of some of these platforms and the instruments that we can use. The second thing, secondly, and I know Mr. Ebito had talked about some of the policy instruments that the government has put in place. It will be important to sharpen some of these instruments, but also to go to scale, which means that if we are working with the Ministry of Gender, for example, the Ministry of Science and Technology, or the Ministry of Agriculture, for example, these instruments need to be mainstream across board. So when we're talking apprenticeship, it's not only that one sector is working on it. That needs to be part of their core some more work with youth? Can they have some fiscal instruments? If their tax is 14%, can you waive 2% off so that they can do some more? And I think when I talk about sharpening some of these instruments, I think that's what we need to do. The other thing is that, on the Global Innovation Index, Uganda is placed 114 out of 131 countries, which means we have to do a lot together. Because innovation is the order of the day. When we're talking about development solutions to development challenges, it means that we need to collectively work to really fish out and look out for all those innovations that can really address some of the complex development challenges that we're dealing with today, Ben. I mean, we are still talking about development. We're still talking about poverty eradication, 50 years down the line, which means that we have to do things differently. It has to be business as usual. And so a lot more investment into the innovation ecosystem, entrepreneurship ecosystem, scaling ecosystem is something that for me will be very crucial for international development partners to rally around. Because if you're really looking at the scale for development and really addressing some of the structural challenges and barriers, and then we need to work together in that regard. And perhaps finally, in terms of what we can do, I think we need to be opportunistic as well, Ben. I mean, there are new markets, there are new opportunities that are before us. You take the Africa Free Trade Continental Area Agreement. Again, and I'm relating it back again to the issue around youth skilling and entrepreneurship. We are trading 50% amongst ourselves as Africans. Yet, we are amongst African countries, we are trading with other people, but for Africans. Now, how is it that we can support the young person in Uganda, to be able to trade with a young person in Ghana or Nigeria or Namibia, and so when we look at some of the support system that we are providing, it is to enable us aggregate the full potential of these young people to be able to intervene and to be able to take advantage of new markets and opportunities such as the AFCTA that we are talking about. And I think that, we need to be deliberate and targeted as international development partners. So, for example, as this UNDP, we are working now with the Ministry of Trade to look at an SME, trade facility to really help young businesses, small businesses, really brand, position, ensure that they have the right standards to be able to compete. You talk about the creators, I think Comrade Otowa talked about it. It's an area that we don't look at all into as Africans. If somebody's a painter or an artist or musicians, we kind of throw it on the side. But it's big business. It's great opportunity for us. And if you take Nigeria, for example, they rebase their whole economy because of the contribution of Nollywood to the gross domestic product. What am I saying? What I'm saying is that we need to be able to nurture that, to even take advantage of the creatives, the AFCTA, and many of the things that we're talking about. I don't want to repeat a number of the things that I've talked about, but if we come back to the core conversation today, what are we reimagining youth skills for? It's for the development of Uganda. It's for the Vision 2040. It's for the Sustainable Development Goals. It's for the achievement of the NDP3. And as development partners, I just also rally around the cause of the youth. They have great energy. They have dreams. They have things they want to do. And what we can do is to ensure that they have the enabling conditions to be able to dream the dream that they have. Thank you.
Thank you. When I grow up, Elsie, I want to be like you. The way you make your point, you should have been a pastor. If you ever, need a second pastime after you retire, you definitely have a calling there.
Become a politician.
Oh, that no. Well, the pastor is probably better. Elsie, as of the resident rep, it's an absolute pleasure for you. But first, let me come to my panel on the ideathon perfectly because it's sort of
Just first and foremost to say, making quite a number of we have seen, especially create and sustain the schools are doing. They won't go to the market for you. You need those networks and connections. So an ecosystem approach. I'd like on this occasion to thank the UNDP really, as testified by this panel here, dealing with family household, us focusing on youth who are still in vocational colleges and higher education institutions, Standard Business Incubator, dealing with SMEs that are slightly maybe 12 months and older. That whole chain, you realize that you're covering quite a number of people. But I wanted to bring this discussion back to today, which is about skills. What skills are we talking about? We're talking about entrepreneurship skills in my case, and we find that these are actually real-life skills. I'll give you some of them. Creativity and innovation, opportunity recognition, like we're talking about now with COVID and the pandemic being down. There are so many opportunities to be recognized. decision making, implementation of ideas through leadership and management, action and reflection. Comrade Ruto was talking about empathy. Being able to empathize does not mean that people have to feel sorry for you, but they can reflect and realize the challenges you're having. Some of the things we're seeing in the ideathon, we're seeing ideas of people who are empathizing with people in their community and doing something about it. Even the ideathon ourselves, talking about empathy, we realized once we've done some of these sessions and master classes, that some people who were there, for instance, needed a sign person. We have had to run our campaigns deep in the villages on radio. So empathy is a very good word there. Communication and strategy skills, action and digital and data skills, I beg your pardon. The jobs of the future, digital and data skills are going to be very significant. So we cannot have this discussion about skills without talking about the root cause of this problem. The root cause of this problem is in our education system. Colonial as it might be, we have not been creative enough in trying to change it. At NACE, we've done our best to work with partners, especially in universities, the likes of Makerere University, Makerere University Business School. Just to give you an example, and the doctor talked about apprenticeships that died a long time ago. We have kind of reimagined them, working, for instance, with Cobalt, the College of Business. Imagine in second year students of entrepreneurship, working with the college, we were able to, at the end of the entrepreneurship module, showcase over 1,300 ideas. And these students start in class, which is curricular, but working outside of class, they go outside in the field there. They actually come up with the products and services, and they come and exhibit them. 1,300. Imagine, this is just one college, one academic year. Now, imagine if you did that in one college, if you did it for all the 3 years. I don't know how many colleges Makerere University has. I know the likes of Cambridge have like 35 colleges. Imagine if you did that in all the colleges, in all the 52 colleges and vocational institutions. The statistics that Madam Atafo was talking about are humbling when you're sending out 700,000 of these youths. Why are we missing that opportunity when these guys, before they leave school, why aren't we working with them in tandem? And as they do their degree, whether it is in carpentry, we're talking about the creative industry. We are seeing, for instance, as part of the ideathon application, the most ideas are coming from agriculture. But the second one is the creatives industry. And if you think about it, we shouldn't be surprised. Most of our young people are here. And I know that BRAC is doing something around the creative industry. And hopefully with this kind of ecosystem approach, we should be able to get some ideas through. So just back to summarize on the question you asked, what is this ideathon? We have something we call a registered address. The user there that just has a need to focus on as we mentorship is really a very big part of it. So the master classes, it's a whole ecosystem approach. So we're delighted to have been part of this panel.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we're encouraging people, if you want to join the ideathon, you probably have seen our website on the screen coming to you, undp.nas.ug, in case you want to go and get some more information, and of course, register for the ideathon as well. Let me come to Dr. Matete again. We are now talking about what we are doing, what impact it's having. So I want to hear from you in terms of your partnership with the UNDP and what impact it has had, what you're seeing with that. And then we hear from Comrade Toma and the business incubator. And then we will hear some testimonies of some of the people who have been beneficiaries of both your programs and what they have to say, because you might come in and just say things because you speak English. But we want to actually have people as well who have been through your systems and are able to ascertain whether what you're telling us is the truth or not. So, Dr. Matete.
Thank you very much, Ben. Again, I want to thank UNDP LC for thinking outside the box. We normally say that you can't keep on doing the same thing the same way and expect different results. And in order to have different results, it means that you have to have either innovative thinking or out-of-the-box thinking. With UNDP, we had a discussion and they called us and they said, this is a marriage made in heaven as BRAC. And I think because they were looking for a different way of doing things, they said, look, what else can you do? And we said that as BRAC, we have a big footprint. We have about 123 districts in the country in which we are present out of 136. We said that we are working with 40,000 girls on social protection just to support them to be able to catalyze them to express their own opportunities. We are working with education and ensuring technology links the people. We have the MasterCard alumni. So when we were discussing with this, they said, but you have, with this base, can't we work together? And they supported us and said, can you get for us 7,500 youth between now and the end of the year? And to reassure Elsie that in as much as we have COVID and all the things look like they're going wrong, we'll still hit that target to make sure that 400 of them are linked to master craftsmen, whether from shoemakers. We get our skin in Uganda or Somalia, take it to Italy, then we say, I buy Italian shoes.
At 100 times the cost.
Coffee, honey, all these things, all the things in the agricultural value chain. We said that the next thing we need to do is to add the knowledge. I usually say that the information that you have determines the moves you make. The moves you make are the ones that determine the waves you create. And the waves you create are the ones that determine the news that you become. So just to make sure that people have the business information so that they can make the right judgment. Jimmy did not tell you that at Brack Bank, they don't ask you for collateral. It might not be as much as you want, but the collateral is the person who is your neighbor, the person with whom you're in a group. And finally, we are saying that we need to link to markets, and we are looking at 1,100. The ones that we are just giving information to make moves are 6,000, and then 1,100 we are saying, can we link you to an employer? Can we link you to a market? And Brack has a reputation, not only here, but even in the South-South collaboration, because we worked in Bangladesh. And we said that to make a person market ready, then you need looking after me when she was sick, doing online classes. Then we went tailoring school for 3 weeks. This is what I'm doing. So we also need to be able to have we are looking at ideas. Can we make Mango their opportunities and what they want and set up a license? Register, make myself available. What are the things that you can do? Set up standards that allow people to be consistent. Franchise, because whether it is a McDonald's or Java or whatever, it's just that when you walk into a Java and you eat a plate of chips, it's supposed to be the same whether it is in Jinja or in Kampala. And so we want to think again the UNDP, that big UN body able to coalesce ideas. And if we are able to hybridize and think through these ideas like we are doing today, I think at the end of the day we'll hit the stars.
Yeah.
Africa is ripe for change. I'm ready and thrilled to be part of it, and as Brack and all the Brack members, which is a big population, already Brack employs 2,800 people here. We are able to become big business. And what I'm telling my colleagues is that every day is a business opportunity. And Fridays, I want them to come, though they sometimes don't see the idea. Come with your business idea. Come with your market. Whether you want to sell potatoes, bananas, Friday afternoon, sell it to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. So I'm assuming that means that the Brack offices on Friday are a proper marketplace. That's a very interesting invitation. I want to come to Mr. Ebito for just one last question in terms of what the government can do to put everyone together. But before I do that, I'll come to you to give you a minute to talk about that. Comrade Dr. Matete just touched on this a little bit about the fact that what they're trying to do is make sure that when people come to them, they're not necessarily asking for collateral or anything like that. We know for a fact, and we touched on this, and I want you just to expand that point and finish it. Interest rates are a big problem for our young people. In light of what Dennis has said and Elsie has said and Dr. Matisse and all of that, one of the biggest hindrances still remains our interest rates, which still remain quite high. What do you see us being able to do about that particular challenge to help our youth?
I think, in all honesty, just like Comrade said here, one, our partnerships make it better and easier for these young people, the youth. At something, what we have done is to master the art of working with partners who support in providing that guarantee. So you're not necessarily putting in your collateral, but there's a guarantee to guarantee that facility. That's number one. But also, if you look at the rates, especially for our program with the youth, the rates are really low. The rates are very, very low. In fact, the lowest in the market. And that just goes to show you the commitment to supporting young people, but also understanding that beyond just the rates, because you see, you can lower rates to 2%, but if people can't manage that resource, then it doesn't really matter. So the rate doesn't really matter. So I think at the end of the day, it's not even really about the rate, but it's about saying, how do you create young people, young businesses that can actually articulate their mechanisms to be more productive, employ more people, be more visible within the communities that they serve, but most important of all, be resilient and strive to excel. And that for us is very, 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 very crucial.
Right. Yeah. I want us to hear from some of the beneficiaries who have been part of your program, and of course BRAC as well, and we'll be joining them in just a moment. But first, I wanted to give Mr. Ebito one last very brief question in terms of what you've had our partners doing. What does the government do to make sure that everyone is working together, especially in light of what we're trying to do to make sure that we're giving youth the skills that they need? And going forward, what would you take away from this as a government to make sure that we build on this discussion and take some very proactive steps to ensure that our youth have the skills that they need, and that we increase that number from 9,000 jobs for 700,000 people, maybe, and even it's a little bit more? Mr. Ebito?
With the two waves of COVID-19 as a country, provide us very clear areas and space for collaboration. All the actors, and by this I mean the government, the development partners, civil society, the private sector, the academia, and the training institutions, employers, the telecom companies, etc., just to mention a few, but without forgetting the target group that we are focusing on today, the young population, which in our country constitutes 78% of the population, that's below 30 years. As partners in this business together, it is important that we build and strengthen strategic partnerships at national, regional, and where possible at global levels. We should seek common solutions to the challenge at hand. Good enough, we've already identified the challenge, and so we can begin working at it, and I know there are already efforts in that direction. And this requires that all of us bring our ideas and whatever we have to offer in this front on the table. And this will be the strengths of the partnership that we are talking about. This way, we shall work together as equal partners, not only for the benefit of the youth that we're focusing on, but also for the entrepreneurs in general and the entire economy. The beauty of this in our country is that our national frameworks, the Vision 2040, the National Development Plan 3, especially the Human Capital Development Program, already provide a basis and a framework for this kind of collaboration that we are talking about. We need to build partnerships in skills development. We need to come together, as I've already said, and focusing on the priorities that we've identified together as partners. We need to agree and invest in common solutions, and especially in the following areas. And this is what we shall always be putting on table, and I'm glad that they are not entirely new areas. We've already been working on some of them. In this era of COVID, we have realized that there's need for us to invest in internet-based learning by improving our infrastructure, training instructors and teachers to design and deliver e-learning. You know, many of them are learning on job and they have not been used to this, so we need to make sure we prepare people to deliver efficiently and effectively. We also need to improve our internet infrastructure, as I've said, and this will ensure that it is affordable to all the people who require it. And this will enable us to reduce some of the imbalances or inequities that we see in the access to information and the training programs that are going on. We further need to invest in entrepreneurship development and innovations. Here, we jointly need to support provision of business development services to the youth and inspire them to innovate and continuously reimagine their businesses. So a lot of their businesses have suffered shocks, and so we need to support them readily to sustain what they have, but also to improve on what they have to work on looking at the future. As partners, again, especially in the area of skilling, it's important that we make our skilling programs more relevant to the needs of the labor market through integration of the ongoing work-based learning in our education system. This way, we avoid the mismatch in skilling, that is investing in resources that may not be required by the market. So I think this is very critical, and it's good we're already aware of this. Now, in this way, we increase the employability of our youth. That is our focus of the discussion today. Further, we need to invest in a local capacity to respond to the crisis. You know, when people are in a state of shock, usually it's very difficult to recover. But mitigation measures must be put in place so that the effects of some of these shocks, such as COVID that we receive, do not give us a major blow and bring everything to a standstill. We need to strengthen our skilling programs, therefore, because they are part of those that help in the coping mechanisms of the young people that we're talking about. Right. Those who are skilled can quickly adjust and change from where the investments could have been to something as they see in the market. But without the skills, they're feeding wide and a variety of skills. Policy environment, skilling, employment, and entrepreneurship promotion programs for the young ensure equitability of access to the benefits. So I want to state at this point that challenges in life come in three categories. Have a safe and boring life. I always remembered for the great things in the face of this present challenge. Recommit that we will continue working with and also to work for a better future. So thank you, and thank you very much, Ben.
No, thank you, Mr. Ebito. We're going to hear over the next few minutes some of business facilitators for readment for our young people who want to follow in your footsteps.
And Farid Karama, like distance for now, for agritourism is our specialty is, and that's where we focus on as a travel company for over 250 years. We have tried to equip with the support that we have received guides so as they can easily be located and from different locations of the world. The tourists can always just pick on them so that they can visit. So we have very many tourists now that we have seen that they have interest in agritourism in Uganda. So we decided to develop this virtual map where they can easily be located. We also know that the tourism sector was hit very badly in Uganda, also internationally. But we found this program as a very good program that will enable these young people to come back into agriculture, but also make some income through agritourism. So we needed this program, one, to encourage Ugandans to get back into the domestic tourism, and that's the better way than we keep our young people with skills that are needed for them to make money, while also offering knowledge to the wider population on good farming methods. So this is something that we have been done with the support of UNDP, and we also welcome very many other young people who have farms and also want to earn an extra income through agritourism to join us so as we can promote and grow the sector in agritourism. It's still a young sector, agritourism, but I feel if other development partners and all other well-wishers for this sector can come together, I think we can really provide a lot of income, jobs for these young people. And with this, we believe that it's something that we are going to continue. We started in Eastern Uganda, but we're also looking for other resources to see how we can scale it up to other parts of the country. So special thanks again to our partners and the UNDP for the support. And we feel that this program, particularly the agritourism program that we are handling in the East, will really create employment opportunities for the young people in Uganda.
Thank you very much for it. Very well said. We like what you're doing, and I'm sure the panelists agree here. we need to be telling your stories a lot more, and you will be hearing from me. I think we need to come and have a discussion about how we make sure that the young people know the things that you're doing and how to be a part of that. Let's go on quickly to Gerald Katabazi at Volcano Coffee also, to briefly share your story and how you have benefited, and of course your word of encouragement to our young people. Gerald, a very good morning to you, and thanks a lot for joining us.
Well, thank you very much for this opportunity and for allowing me to speak this special day. I'm Gerald Katabazi, as the host was mentioned, and I'm the CEO and founder of Volcano Coffee Limited. Volcano Coffee Limited is a Ugandan first specialty coffee company that manages an academy at the Forest Mall and operating in 3 coffee growing zones. We have one outlet in Ebito and we have another outlet in Kasese, together with this one, which is at Forest Mall. So myself is quite a bit inspiring story because having grown up from a coffee farming background and made my education through the coffee farming money that was received from the harvest, I really needed to make sure that I be part of the future conversation, and this is how I entered into the coffee industry and managed to make sure that I play a great role. I own Volcano Coffee that skills the young people. We have so far skilled closely to 1,000 young people in different coffee value chain engagements, right out from the roasting, from the brewing and trade clinics. So far, I really thank UNDP that really gave us support. We managed to secure a roasting equipment facility, which is right here behind me. And then we've also managed, through the same support, we managed to scale up our business into those 3 other districts of Kampala and then Kasese and Mbale. And we have also secured a space in UAE where we are going to be roasting our own Ugandan coffee at Volcano Coffee outlet and then export it to the UAE market for distribution channels. Together with this, I'm working with the other fellow young people who are in these regions and also who are adding value to coffee. However, of course, as the pandemic, the COVID pandemic that is really making everything go slow, we managed to scale down the employees, the staffs at these outlets, and then reintroduce the online shopping platform where we are found on Google and then word of mouth and through referrals again. So through that we managed to stabilize, and I think after maybe if the COVID-19 slows down, we'll be able now to awake and then be able to look for more partners who can help us improve or scale our business to another level. We are currently employing 35, but due to COVID, there are challenges. We have managed to scale them to about 15 employees that we remain with. So that's how we are managing today, and that's how we are moving with Volcano Coffee. Thank you so much.
Gerald, good to hear from you and great job. Let's cross over very quickly to Frank Kamugisha at EcoPlast. Now, EcoPlast is a very interesting company, the vast company to make roofing tiles out of plastic. That's a very interesting story. Welcome, Frank. Tell us very briefly about your story and how you have benefited from getting support.
Thank you very much, Ben, and panelists in the studio and all the viewers. My name is Frank Kamugisha, and I'm the founder and CEO at EcoPlast. Like Ben said, we are the first Ugandan company to manufacture roofing tiles out of plastic at 100%. And by doing so, we solve 3 problems. One, which is the problem of plastic waste pollution in Uganda. And the second problem, which is the cost of production, because our products are cheaper by over 35%. And the third problem that we're solving is the green job creation, especially for the marginalized youth and women. And we've really moved ahead to create a mobile platform, which is a waste to make insurance scheme that allows landlords to exchange plastic waste for insurance cover. And this program enables anyone, anywhere with a smartphone or feature phones to exchange their plastic waste for insurance cover. We are so much Youth for Business Innovation Facility. It's really been very, very incredible on EcoPlastics journey by providing us the support that we needed at a critical time, giving us funding, and with the support that we got from the UNDP, we've been able to actually grow our impact by 3x, increase the number of people who work across the value chain to over 150, especially marginalized youth and women who collect plastic, resorting, and then who work at the factory to recycle these plastics into filters and other products. But also it has helped us to make a huge impact on the environment, because currently we throw over 28 tons of plastic from the environment on a monthly basis, and our goal is to increase this to about 50 tons of plastic per month, which is a huge, huge saving to the environment, but also creating, of course, opportunities for the marginalized youth and women. My last one to young people out there who aspire to be entrepreneurs is that you must really get that grit. You must be really prepared to face the challenges, because the EcoPlastics journey has been it's been a 3-year journey to date, and we've really had a lot of ups and downs, a lot of noise and challenges. But the passion that we have for the problem that we're solving is what keeps us moving. And I want to encourage all young people to find their problems, some of the problems that they can solve in the society, and by solving a problem, they'll be able to make an impact, and money becomes a byproduct. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Frank. And it's obvious that you have been doing so well. You're now chilling at the beach while we're in lockdown. So congratulations and well done to you. Let's quickly check in with you, Timothy Mugume at Jumia Uganda. Very briefly, your last words before I come back to the panel in terms of your encouragement to our young people. What do you want them to do to make sure that post-pandemic they are able to get the skills that they need and be able to make a decent living?
Okay, thank you. I believe right now the panelists have shared a lot of information about how we can develop our skills. And thank you so much for organizing this NBS and the team. I think there's a little bit of hope, and if we are strategic enough, we can definitely leverage on all the platforms that we have right now, all the information that we have gathered today, to get to have a very clear onset on how much we can really get to improve on the welfare of the students, welfare of the youth, welfare of everyone who is trying to make it in Uganda. I think right now it's quite very important to grow our soft skills. How do you learn how to communicate better? How do you learn how to manage the businesses better? And how do you learn how to grow personally in terms of using the savings or getting more investment coming in through organized channels? How do you maximize the circles? How do you maximize this information? And most importantly, in terms of our partnerships that we have, how can you get back to us in terms of reaching out to Jumia with any feedback, or with UNDP, you are an interested vendor and you want to join these platforms? I think when you go to our social media channels and you also follow us, you will be able to reach out to more and more vendors, more and more youth. And the message to you is we are with you. We listen, we've heard, and we empathize with you. As Mr. Tony has said, we need to come out of this together. And I know that Uganda, being one of the top entrepreneurial countries, is going to get back its stature. Right now, we have a lot of players on board that are going to be supporting the youth. Jumia is very dedicated to supporting the youth of Uganda and partnering with UNDP and the other key stakeholders in ensuring that we come out of this situation, but also are able to take on the digital transformation of our economy very strongly, because we've seen firsthand that we should enter the mentality that businesses should continue going on no matter what we have. Thank you very much.
Youth, at some point, they've been a hustler. I've personally known Comrade Otoa and Dennis for over 20 years and 30 years. I remember working with Tony at Crown House. It was a very were very young boys struggling to make it, looking for 2K to have comfortable for breakfast in the morning, and now here you are. You're a big boss. You're wearing expensive shoes.
It is true.
It is true. But actually, all of you are wearing very expensive shoes. That's the stuff that young people look at and aspire to. If you look into that camera in front of you, I'll give you a minute and a half. Yeah. You talked about empathy. Give them a word of encouragement and hope that it's going to get better no matter how bad things look.
It goes into the storm and self-belief, pandemic. It's a phase. It will go. We can get out of this, and we will get out.
Founder, nice. Your passion is true story.
My message is not very different from hustling. You remember in Barra High School, Tony, I don't know what time you sleep, but no. Is the situation good? And do something about it. Just keep making those steps. One networking, bullet solution.
You may, but I'm sure you also have your own
to leave when there was a job. Took a jembe and went to the view that white link. During this course, so that's my last words that we need to now, because maybe you'll be looking at expensive shoes. Let us ensure that raw you sell yourself.
You have a with Silas Ruweza from the partnerships that you
I'm from the parents that talk about honey. As one of you right now, we have a farmer as the marketplace at Black the market of Black Uganda, the imagining that keep reimagining the environment and making it useful.
Let's cross over to you. Problems. Good morning.
But I mean, and he gave us an idea of we were supported with 10,000 and been able to get an opportunity for us to celebrate, to use some of these skills we are facing at the moment. We just have to look at the opportunity.
Thank you very much. That's a very inspirational. One more person, Arnold Mugaga, young people.
We are turning school. We call this the seat park, a school bag. And when so far the which may cause of this in 2022, and you seek out an actual problem that this through that coming space, and so in the country.
Again, as you can imagine, in partnership with UNDP, are helping to bring this to where Arnold has gotten his. What's your idea? Don't let it die, because there's obviously. Also, go to all the social media handles and find all the information that you need. BRAC Uganda, Stanbic, Business Incubator. Look, Google is your friend. If you just Google these things, get some inspiration from the story.